In this video, we're going to create a script that will automatically make our pizza counter tick upwards with additional pizzas without us needing to click. So this is going to be tied to another upgrade that we're going to add later on in a different session. So the first thing we need to do is create a new script. So right click, create a new C# script. And this one I'm going to call scr_auto pizza. So just to be clear, this script we are not going to attach to any button or anything. Well, we are going to attach it to a button, but we're not going to attach this to an upgrade yet. This is solely for updating the counter automatically. We will add the purchase upgrade button script to the button when we add it. But for now, we just want a function. For now, we just want a system that will update the counter at the top automatically, this is going to be separate to our purchase upgrade script. So open that new script up in Visual Studio. We don't need to add using UnityEngine.ui because we're not going to be referencing any UI elements in this script. To start with, we want to create some variables as usual when we start any script. So we're going to create a Boolean variable, so public bool, and this is going to be called adding pizzas is equal to false. Boolean variable is one of two states. It is either true or false. So in our case, we are going to have a check later on in this which will go, are we adding pizzas currently? If we are, then we're going to do something else. If we're not, then we're not going to do anything. So this allows us to say, right, well, it's either creating pizzas or it isn't. So it's one of two states. Oops, just realised I'm adding this in the wrong place. So you can see I've got red squiggly lines all over the shop. This is because I've accidentally started adding in new variables before the actual class has started, before the actual script has started. That's bad. Don't do that. Get rid of that. Get rid of these spaces. So we've got the start of our class, then we add in variables. So now it's much happier. The next one we want to do is a integer. So this is going to be a public int, and we're going to call this increase amount. So it's how many pizzas is it going to add per second, I guess. So initially we'll set this to 1 for testing purposes, but when we actually do the game proper, this will be set to 0. So this script will be active all the time from the start of the game, but it will only update the increase amount once we've purchased the upgrade to 1, so it'll start adding 1 every second or something like that. The final variable we need to add is a container for our clicking script. So again, make this public because we're referencing from other scripts, and it's a container just for that clicking script, and I'm going to call it click. Doesn't matter if it's the same name as other scripts. It's just relevant to this script in here. The next thing we're going to do, or what we are going to do with this script, is create a coroutine. I'm not going to try and explain coroutines in this session, but to try and simplify them, the way that scripts work is that it will start here, it will go through each. So let's look at another example. So this is our buy upgrade per click script. So when this script is run, it will start here, it will go through each line of code, go through all of this, it'll go through public void, it'll check that, and if it's true, then it'll go through all this stuff, and then you've got update text, so then it will go to the update text function, it will do that line of text, go back up here, finish that argument, finish that function, and unless we've got any other functions, well, it's obviously only if the function is called will it go through things. So it'll go through things, and that's every frame. Every frame it will do that constantly, depending on whether the function is being called or not. So remember, by default, you do get the void update function. So if you want to constantly check things, you might put them in there in void update. So every frame I want to check such and such and such. But the more you put in there, the more it's going to blurt your checks. So if your game is checking for a bunch of different stuff every single frame, the bigger the game gets, that's going to be very costly in terms of its performance, and it's going to might take it a bit of a time to be able to do all that. Whereas coroutines allow us to take a step out of running everything a frame and allows us to have a bit more control over doing things over a certain amount of time. So for example, you may want to check if an enemy type has a certain weapon attached, but every frame might be a bit much for that, so you might only want to check that every second or something like that, in which case you might use coroutines. See the additional information for more information about coroutines, but I'm not going to go into any more detail on them just now. So to make a coroutine, what we need to do is, instead of using void to create it, because they work like a function, we use IEnumerator. So IEnumerator, and I'm going to call this coroutine make pizza. So what this is going to do is automatically make our pizzas, and then we create, lay it out just like we would a regular function. So IEnumerator make pizza. Within this function, this coroutine, I'm going to reference our click script and reference the counter number within it, so our main number of pizzas we've made, and I'm going to add on the increase amount. So in this case it is 1. I'm going to add on 1 when this function, this coroutine, is called. When you create coroutines, you need to add in this yield return new, and then this is where you can say, okay, wait for seconds, and then say, okay, 1, before allowing this coroutine to execute again. And then I'm going to set adding pizzas to false. Next, I'm going to just populate some stuff in void update. I'll zoom in a little so we can see that a bit better. So in void update, I'm going to add in a conditional which will check if our adding pizzas variable is equal to false, and if it is, it will set it to true, and then start the coroutine. So start coroutine, and then we have to say, right, what's the name of our coroutine? It's make pizza. And then we need to add in, just like as if we were calling a function with an open close brackets, it's like that, but it's within brackets as well. So there's a lot of brackets with calling coroutines. Don't forget the semicolon. So this will start the coroutine if we are not already adding pizzas. So to try and summarize this and hopefully make a little bit of sense out of it, every frame, so in void update, this is every single frame, it is going to check if adding pizzas is false, which it is at the very start of the game. It's then going to set adding pizzas to true. So now that Boolean variable is set to true, and then it's going to start this coroutine. Within the coroutine, it's going to add 1 to our counter for pizzas. So it's going to add a pizza. Then it's going to wait. Essentially, this line just makes it wait for a second before it will return back. This line is going to wait a whole second and then allow Unity to set adding pizzas to false. So for that whole second, that variable adding pizzas is true. So in void update, even though that is calling every frame, this variable only sets back to false when this has run out. So it will only allow us to add a pizza every second, or add whatever the increase amount is, 2, 3, whatever we set it to up here, every second. So rather than, because otherwise if we just had in void update, we just put add a pizza in, it would add a pizza in every single frame, which would be ridiculously overpowered. So this just allows us to have a bit more control over things. Save your scripts. That should all be okay. Could get rid of this void start function. So let's get rid of it. Clutter, we don't need it. Save your script. Head back into Unity. What I am going to do is I am going to attach my auto pizza script to my click button. I'm going to use my click button as like the main hub for the functionality of the game. So I'm just going to click and drag that onto this button. So now we should have it down here. So UI button click, script clicking. Has it added it to the text by mistake? Yes, it has. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the component from the text UI just to make it sure it adds it onto the button and not the text. I'm going to drag it onto the UI button click up here rather than try and get it onto the button in the scene view. So now clicking on the UI button click, scroll down, I've got script auto pizza script. So it's going to add one pizza. Don't forget that we need to tell it, because we are referencing the clicking script, which controls how many pizzas are added to this, or the display of the number of pizzas we've got. We need to add that into there. So this UI button click object, we need to just drag into there, and then it will recognize, okay, script underscore clicking is attached to this object, therefore I can reference it. So we should be able to test this out. So if we hit play, we can see every second it adds a pizza on. So our upgrade works, and our script works, and automatically will add pizzas on. In the next session, we'll add another UI element that will act as a separate upgrade so that we can add on more pizzas per second or something like that.